Hi, everyone. My name is Mason. I am the organizing director for Hood to the Holler, and I wanted to recap our statewide update call. To start off, an introduction of Hood to the Holler. We are an organization that was founded by Charles Booker in 2020, and we have the goal of building a people centered movement to build progressive power in Kentucky. We are trying to build communities rooted in love and justice rather than hate. Um, a lot of what we have done in the past has been things like arena trainings where we supported um, hundreds of Kentuckians going through trainings on how to become organizers. And also working in partnerships like the Transitions Coalition, the Commonwealth Alliance for Voter Engagement, and the Rural Urban Exchange Program, as well as the Appalachian Big Ideas Festival. We One of the things we have done a lot in the past is providing voting resources. So going into neighborhoods and telling people where to vote, setting up rides to help people get to the polls, um, and working with voter restoration. So people who have um, served time and had their rights restored afterwards, working with them on registering to vote and where to vote and things like that. My name is Mason. I am the organizing director. Um, I have been doing political organizing work for 10 years, and I am very passionate about a lot of different issues, but the biggest two are reproductive justice and LGBTQ rights. Um, I want to go over the last year because this was, I think, the biggest and most exciting year that Hood to the Holler has had so far, just in terms of our capacity and our organizing staff, which I am very proud of. Last year, we worked in coalition with the Kentucky Futures Project, um, which is an organization dedicated to building progressive power, and is made up of numerous other progressive organizations that do the same work we do. We did this collaboration both so that we could help other organizations and so that we weren't being redundant, so that every time we did the work, we knew that we were covering as wide an area as possible. In our campaign last year, we talked to 14, sorry, we had 14,574 interactions with 10,575 Kentuckians. So there were some people that we talked to multiple times just to really make sure that we were um, driving the message home of the importance of voting. At the beginning of the year, we chose to target 20 counties um, based on where we had connections to the community, and who we felt like we could talk to and reach. And of those 20 counties, 17 of those 20 counties saw an increase in progressive support over 2019. So that was the last time there was a complete uh, statewide race, congressional race, like there was, sorry, not congressional race, constitutional officer race, like there was last year. In total, in Kentucky, there was a 38% turnout. When we talked to people, they turned out at a much higher rate, 68%. Um, and when we looked at those people, 17% of the people that we got to turn out were people who had not voted in 2019. So they weren't motivated to vote before, but they were specifically because we talked to them. So, how'd we do that? The biggest thing that we focused on was authentic messengers. We wanted we didn't want to hire people from out of state or out of the community. We wanted people in the communities we work in to feel like this was their friend, their neighbor, the guy they went to high school with, coming and talking to them about the issues that they care about. However, because we are organizing in the Hood and the Holler, and a lot of people there are struggling, we wanted to make sure that the people who were doing this work are supported and able to make a living while they're doing it. So we prioritized paying people from the communities that we were organizing in instead of just having them as volunteers. And we were in a very fortunate position to be able to do that. And then when we sent people out to have these conversations, we didn't just knock on someone's door and have a 30-second, hey, can you vote for this person? When we went to people and talked with them, we tried to have conversations. Have you lived in this community a long time? What does community look like to you? What does voting look like to you? Have you voted before? Have you had trouble with voting before? And what kind of issues would you most like to see change in your community, so that we could kind of get a picture for what people are feeling and thinking instead of just having these 30-second interactions. And a lot more people connected with those more long-term conversations. So here is where we did it. As you can see, we are pretty focused in Louisville, Lexington, and Eastern Kentucky, as well as we did also do some work in Muhlenberg County, which is the cluster of dots in Western Kentucky. In Lexington, we talked to 4,392 people. Overall, Fayette County saw a turnout of 43%. Of the people we talked to, that was we saw a turnout of 73%, which is incredibly high, especially since we were targeting people who are less likely to vote. And again, 17% of the people in Lexington who voted this year had not voted in 2019. So we are getting people out to vote. You can see that a lot of our area is clustered in specific neighborhoods. That's because we really wanted to be building community. So we wanted to talk to somebody and have them be able to talk to their neighbors and say the same thing happened to them, so that there's this community building. And a lot of what we did was focused in North Lexington as well, because those areas tend to be less focused on during these larger races. In Louisville, we talked to 2,359 people. We had Jefferson County had a 41% turnout rate overall, and of the people we talked to, we saw a 68% turnout rate. There were a lot of people in Louisville, a lot of other organizations that we partner with who were doing the same work. So we were able to partner a lot more with other orgs and support them, which is why our number is lower here. In Eastern Kentucky, we chose 15 counties based on, again, where we had connections and what was reachable for our organizers. And you can see the counties listed there. Initially, we focused on going door to door and being able to talk to people face to face. Obviously, that is not always attainable. Especially in more rural areas. So at that point, we transitioned into phone banking and going to community events and community spaces to talk to people where they already are. So our success rate was, again, very impressive. Of the 15 counties we targeted in Eastern Kentucky, the overall turnout rate was 30%. and we saw double that. Of the people we were talking to, we saw a 64% turnout rate, which is very high and very impressive, and really shows how people feel when they are able to connect around community and how that inspires them to vote. So we also saw this being an effective way to win the race. The counties in eastern Kentucky, particularly in southeastern Kentucky, went much more blue than they were expected to. Particularly, I would like to shout out Breathitt and Owsley County, both of which were up by more than 10%. And like I said before, we only saw a decrease in support in 3 of our 20 counties that we picked. We are seeing that this community building is working when we use it. So let's talk about what worked and what didn't. First, we tried to touch base with people multiple times in order to really make sure that we were mobilizing our people to support. So this graph shows people who were unlikely to vote on the left and more likely to vote on the right, and then how many interactions we had with them in order for them to vote. You can clearly see the trend over time gradually is the more we interact with them, the more likely they are to vote. Then we were looking at what the most effective way to reach voters was. The most success we had was having these conversations with people at the door. When we talked to people at the door, face to face, and talked to them about their community and voting, we saw an almost 75% turnout rate, which is incredible to see that high of a turnout rate. People really connected with our methodology. And we also took this data and looked at what issues people care about. And this is a breakdown of that. A lot of people said that they were interested in having better politicians, that they weren't inspired to vote because the options they had to vote for just weren't interesting or inspiring to them. And a lot of people, particularly in eastern Kentucky, said they wanted to see more economic development, said they wanted to see more of a chance for small businesses and community businesses to thrive. And in Lexington, we saw a lot of people talking about the housing crisis. We did also hear a few times from people that they were frustrated with campaigns coming into their communities just to have that 30-second transactional conversation, have that, hey, are you voting for this person? Okay, great, bye, and then never come back into their community again. So we wanted to make sure that that's not something we do. So this year we have been doing people's assemblies. We have been convening these meetings of communities to organize around the issues that they care about. Essentially, it's an idea of we support each other. When we're separate, we may not have much power, but together we can make a difference, which is a common thought in a lot of organizing. But one of the things that makes people's assemblies different is how decentralized they are. So we've been working to hold the spaces and get the word out and find locations for them and things like that. But a lot of it is community led, where people are making decisions on what they want to do together. And one of the strengths of that is that if one person or one organization were to step back, the People's Assembly would keep going. So it really avoids the problem of burnout in organizers. Going forward, we are planning to have a summer of community, which is very exciting. We are going to community events all across the state of Kentucky, and you will see us out at a lot of them. We also are celebrating our 4-year anniversary this year, and we are planning to have some community events and some online events to celebrate that. When we go to these events, we're hoping to support local businesses and things like that, really working, again, with the communities that we're organizing in. And then towards the end of the summer, we are going to start transitioning into canvassing again. We are focusing on the bottom of the ballot. We have heard from a lot of people, both at the doors and from our volunteers, that they don't feel particularly motivated to organize around the presidential candidates. So we are focusing on things that people actually can make change on, like House and Senate races, like the Supreme Court race, like the 2 ballot referendums, which the first one is that undocumented immigrants can't vote, and the second one is taking money from public schools and giving it to private schools, and also local voices. So we really want to talk to people and educate them on what's going to be on their ballot, and educate them on the things that they can make a difference on to hopefully combat some voter apathy and hopelessness that we're seeing in a lot of communities right now. Last year, we talked to 10,000 people. This year, we are hoping to continue to grow and talk to 15,000 people, so that we are sustaining our efforts and trying to take on what we can. So, how can you help? The biggest way is donations. Like I said earlier, a lot of the people we work with are people from the communities that we are organizing in. We are trying to be ethical and support community members in the communities we're organizing in, so we pay them fairly. And if this movement is going to last, the people doing the work need to be able to make a living doing the work. To that end, last year, 79 cents of every dollar we spent went directly to organizers, either our organizing staff or to paid canvassers. So again, 79 cents out of every dollar went to people doing the work. There are not a lot of organizations that can say that. We are very proud to be able to support people as much as we do. If you're not able to donate, that is completely understandable. You can also volunteer with us. Like I said, we are going to a lot of events across the Commonwealth. We would love to have you join us for an hour or two, and you can talk to your friends and neighbors. You can hang out. It is a very fun time. You also can, if you believe in our mission and are in a place where you're able to talk to your friends and neighbors about the work we're doing without receiving financial compensation for it, we would love to have you as a volunteer canvasser. And that can be anywhere from the Hood to the Holler. We would love to have you. So thank you all so much for your time watching this video, and for your support of Hood to the Holler over these last few years.